The Seminole Indians called it the land of mysterious waters. Vast and primeval, the swamplands of Wakulla Springs in northwest Florida harbor great secrets in their forbidding depths. Down some 300 feet below the surface, a sprawling maze of undersea caves remains far out of our reach. Just how extensive the network is, nobody knows.
Bill, you want me to move that up a little bit?
No, let's bring it down here. Swing it down so we can hold that plate on.
Okay.
Give you a hand here.
Gearing up with state-of-the-art equipment, an international team of 20 men and women prepares for an unprecedented expedition. They are the first to attempt a mission of this magnitude in Wakulla. Their goal is to use this new technology to chart the unexplored reaches of the spring, to venture into waters that may well hold prehistoric bones buried in their depths. A reconnaissance party readies for a practice dive. Briefing them is Wes Skiles.
Probably Clark and I will go in and see what we can find. Maybe Paul and I will work that tunnel on one of the days during the week. It's a big, clear tunnel with black walls, so that ought to prove to be some good exploration.
More people have been on the moon than have been inside Wakulla Springs. Cave diving, exploring virgin tunnel, bringing home mapping gives me a satisfaction that I can't describe to anybody. I get a fix down there.
This is a tributary of the Wakulla system known as Sally Ward Spring. Here, as anywhere, cave divers must be ready for a variety of conditions and dangers. Tight squeezes may come with the terrain. But for all the risks, there are rewards. Starkly beautiful, sculpted by the centuries, these channels stretch for miles on end, a seemingly endless invitation to swim on. Thousands of years of erosion have shaped the limestone into graceful folds and grottos. And even here, nurtured in these gloomy waters, life has found a foothold. Catfish are nocturnal by nature, and since they're not particularly choosy about what they eat, they're well suited for cave dwelling. 30 million years ago, Wakulla and its environs were teeming with life. These walls were part of a great coral reef that extended for miles along the ocean floor. Megalodon, a giant ancestor of the great white shark, once cruised these waters. Now they are home to more resourceful creatures, the albino crayfish. Thousands of years of evolution have adapted it to a world of perpetual darkness. It is blind, and for reasons unknown, may live 4 times longer than its counterpart in shallower waters. During the last ice age, some 10,000 years ago, these passages may have been above water. Animals and perhaps even humans inhabited the caves. Some left their bones scattered in evidence. Wally Jenkins and Gary Salzman were among the first to dive Wakulla Springs. The gear that divers use today is a far cry from what was available to them in 1955.
I guess the best way to describe it is you had a source of air, a tank of air, you had a regulator, you had a face mask you could see, and a pair of fins to push you through the water, and that was it. It's very basic.
All of our early dives were made without wetsuits, and just a bathing suit and perhaps a sweatshirt over the top. Many times, not even that. We were students at Florida State University, Wally and I, and had spent a good bit of time diving the springs and small caves in this area, but none of them were ever as clear and deep as Wakulla, it being kind of the big fella in this region.
We got down to the bottom, I saw a large piece of limestone. It was kind of interesting. I swam over to it, and there on the bottom was a mastodon leg bone about, oh, I don't know, 40 pounds of weight, about 3.5 feet long. And I looked around, there's some more, so I found mastodon skeletons, which we didn't know were down there.
Even for the divers of today, visiting the site of the pair's discovery is exciting. For Jenkins and Salzman, it was the thrill of a lifetime.
It was quite exciting to actually find the bones inside the cave like that. It brought up all sorts of interesting thoughts in our mind about the cave perhaps having been inhabited by man. And this is one of the things that we then started to prove, or try to prove, on subsequent dives.
The pair never did uncover any human remains, but they succeeded in getting a great cache of fossils to the surface. They devised a makeshift system to hoist the massive bones up by inflating pillowcases lined with plastic bags. Bone by bone, their find took shape. They had found the remains of a mastodon, much like this one, only 500 feet from the entrance to one of Wakulla's tunnels. The space-age explorers of today hope to venture nearly a mile within. One of the divers is taught how to use a device designed by Dr. Bill Stone, leader of the project.
Oxygen.
Right, so what you need to do at this point is to switch from stack number 1 to stack number 2 regulator, and then you reach over here and you reroute the gas supplies from number 1 to number 2, and you're all set to keep on moving.
Right.
Exhaled breath is normally wasted, but it can be recycled with this computer-controlled rebreather.
Okay, Rob, this is your primary computer readout here. I'm going to create a couple problems, and those will appear up here on these prioritized messages.
To endure great depths, a diver needs massive volumes of gas. At 300 feet, it takes 10 times as much air to fill the lungs. In addition, a special mixture of gases will be required, one that will make the whole process of decompression more difficult for the expedition. Returning to the surface, divers must pause at intervals to allow the body to adjust to pressure changes. They even make use of charts to guide them along their way up. Otherwise, they could be stricken with the bends.
Cave divers challenge the depths of Wakulla Springs when Explorer returns in a moment. You're watching National Geographic Explorer on TBS. And now, back to National Geographic Explorer.
Decompressing from a dive in Wakulla will take hours of waiting. But it won't be such a grueling ordeal if Dr. Stone has his way. This contraption, when complete, will support a nylon bubble filled with air, an underwater habitat where divers can while away the hours of decompression in relatively dry comfort. Once inflated, it will take tons of lead to hold the habitat down. Getting the weights into position proves to be more than the crew bargained for. Suddenly, things take a turn for the worse. Two massive cylinders topple and slide 100 feet down, way down, to the floor of the spring. The team drops everything to take up the search for a pair of 2-ton needles in a vast haystack of sand. Finally, after days of searching, the crew at last finds the precious cylinders. Now they have to get them to the surface. But how? The answer is airbags. Some technology has changed little since the days of Jenkins and Salzman. The project is off the ground once more. In the days to come, work on the habitat continues. At last, everything is in place. With 1,200 cubic feet of compressed air in tow, the divers need high-powered sleds to taxi them along. Like underwater astronauts, they glide into the unknown. The crew is ready to tackle Wakulla. Their deepest dive takes 80 minutes and reaches record depths of 360 feet, more than 100 feet deeper than Jenkins and Salzman had gone. At a depth of 300 feet, the team is rewarded for their efforts. 2 new troves of prehistoric bones greet their arrival. 5 hours and 15 stops into decompression. The divers are able to hole up in the habitat. They will be ushered through the remaining 6 stops automatically by pulley. The mission is a success. In the end, 4 deepwater caves are charted by the team, a total of 2 miles more than had been previously mapped. But for West Skiles, this is only the beginning. To really explore Wakulla will take even greater leaps in technology.
Next step, saturation cave diving. We've got to be able to go in and out of a habitat that's constructed maybe even inside one of these massive deep conduit systems and have a month, 2 months living inside of a habitat. And that habitat would be base camp for extended explorations into the aquifer.
Skiles' dream dive may someday come true. Until then, we have only these tantalizing glimpses of the wonders that await in Wakulla.
Coming up, a Cajun carver transforms a simple block of wood into a floating masterpiece when Explorer returns in a moment. Interplaque invites you to test your knowledge of the world with National Geographic Atlas. The Strait of Gibraltar separates which two countries? Spain and Algeria, Spain and Morocco, Portugal and Algeria. The answer right after this.